Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to What's on the Playlist today. Today, I'm going to talk about the album Piano Man by Billy Joel, and much of which you will see here. um, Billy Joel was born in New York. His mother was native. His father was actually an immigrant from Germany. His father's family escaped um, prior to the Nazis taking over. They basically escaped the Nazis from Germany. Came to America. His father's family was actually musically inclined. There were piano players in his family. And when Billy Joel was 4 years old, his mother enrolled him in piano classes, something he, at the age, was not interested in. Growing up in New York, his parents did eventually get divorced. His father moved back to Germany after World War II ended, in the late 50s, I think. Billy Joel didn't actually graduate high school, not because he was a bad student, but because he was actually considered a good student, but because he was essentially playing in piano bars to help support his family. And he missed out on some important exams and things like that. He actually didn't get his diploma until like 1992 when he went back to school, when he, submitted a GED to get his diploma. But he decided to want to be a professional musician after seeing the Beatles perform on television. I think it was on the Ed Sullivan Show. Yeah, the famous Ed Sullivan performance of the Beatles. And like these weren't, he saw them like these weren't, professional studio musicians that the recording industry kind of thrust upon us. They were just four guys who love music who were playing. And he was like, if they can do that, I can do that. This is not Billy Joel's first album. His first album was, I'm trying to blank on the name, Cloud, Summer, Sky, something along those lines. I don't remember, but it wasn't really that well received. And Billy Joel also didn't really get along with the record label. It was not one of the major labels. It was a smaller label. And while he was touring for that album, the album consisted of songs from that album and some unreleased stuff that he had, written outside of that. The tour did fairly well. A record exec, I'm not sure a record executive from Columbia Records saw him, or if someone who knew someone. But anyway, he was introduced to Columbia Records. He basically left his old recording, record company, moved out to Los Angeles, and began recording stuff for Columbia Studios out there. Little tidbit: the guy who got him involved in Columbia Records, the executive who got him into Columbia Records, actually went out to the old radio record company, bought all of Billy Joel's songs, and according to the rights to them, and gave them to Billy Joel as a birthday present. Like, here's all your music from here, this music is back in your control now, which was kind of a little interesting tidbit that I found out. This was kind of the moment Billy Joel got noticed, at least a little bit. One of the songs what was popular when he was touring, that he wrote before this album, was Captain Jack. And a lot of people, in spite of its popularity, a lot of people have problems with the song. It talks about drug use, minor references to sex, things like that. People felt that it promoted these things. But Billy Joel wrote the song, living in this New York apartment, seeing, kids in the neighborhood, kids come into the poor neighborhoods looking for drugs. He would see kids going to this drug dealer whose name was Captain Jack. These seemingly affluent kids from the suburbs, like, why are these rich white kids' lives so miserable? They got to come down here, to the ghetto to buy drugs. And he did say later that he stopped putting that song in his playlist. In spite of its popularity, he didn't want to play the song anymore. After several years, the song is too depressing. I mean, basically the person of this song, their father's committed suicide. Their life is miserable. The only pleasure they have out of life is getting high. So it's, he stopped playing the song because it was just so damn depressing. But back to the title song, Piano Man. The the song which Billy Joel eventually became known as. Billy Joel became known as the Piano Man, in part, well, not in part, but basically because of this album. The song is about the perspective of a piano player in a bar, and about the people that he sees and meets, the regulars that come in, and his, relationship with them and the staff at the bar. And Billy Joel has said that every single person in this song is based on a real person that he saw. He was performing while he was living in Los Angeles, recording this album and stuff. He still had this, wasn't a big success yet. He was playing in a bar, playing in a lounge, under the name of Bill Martin, because for some reason, I don't know why, but he didn't want to use either didn't want to or couldn't use his real name. So he played under a pseudonym of Bill Martin. And he was a lounge singer, a lounge, if I can talk, piano player in a bar lounge. And it talks about the sailors and the businessmen and the waitress and the bartender and the bar owner. And, it's about his experience, about the people who come in here to forget about life for a while. And, it's an upbeat song. It's got some up and down moments, but it's a fun song. I like it personally. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought the album, I guess. But it's become one of his signature songs, and he does still play it. This song, when does that thing come out? Yeah, this album came out in 1973. But granted, I was still fairly young and not listening to radio. My radio listening in those days was more through my older siblings. I was still on the younger side in 73. More interested in other things than popular music. Although I did, music was a part of my life, and I did hear it through my parents and, as I said, my older siblings. Music was always playing. I heard it. I just really didn't pay attention to it. I don't think I really noticed Billy Joel consciously until much later. I don't remember when I first heard this album or these songs. And there are other songs on here too. The Ballad of Billy the Kid, Somewhere Along the Line. These are all songs I've heard on the radio. Not as popular as Captain Jack and Piano Man. But this is another one of those rock staples from the 70s. When Billy Joel started to hit it big, these songs were always on the air. And not just these, but from some of his other albums too. But yeah, classic rock staple. It's a good album. It's a classic for a reason. There's some really good songs on it. And I'd be surprised if you hadn't heard it. I guess I'm just babbling and talking about it like old men do. As always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.